Welcome everyone. Welcome all my people from Instagram, all my people from YouTube, all my people from YouTube, all my people from Twitch. All of you are welcome, welcome in. We're having another beautiful show tonight on Rich Dad Poor Dad. This will be Rich Dad Poor Dad Part 8. Right. And we're going through this. Why? Because a lot of people have had problems being able to deal with finance or understand finance. And that's because finance is not taught in school. It is taught at home. And many of us didn't have a home where we were taught these things. And so we never got a chance to learn them. And so we're going to deal with it from this perspective, not in mindset, but actual practical application of things that can be done, that it's going to change your life financially. And when it changes your life financially, it'll start changing your life in the physical realm as well as the mental realm. And when you can clear your mind, you now are into the zone of meditation and you can start developing your spirit. And so we want to make sure that you're able to get there and do these things. So we need to make sure that you're comfortable where your mind doesn't have to be on money. And so the first thing that we have to do is get financial literacy or education. And so we're going to get educated first and then start making practical moves towards the things that are necessary in order for us to be able to win and move forward. So with that, with no further ado, we're going to go beyond credit and we're going to start talking finance. All right. So as I stated, we are going to be in tonight. We are in Rich Dad Poor Dad. Okay. And so we're going to start back where we left off, and what we went through before. We were talking about, or the book left us off after we dealt with the three forms of income and balance sheets and the differences in those income statements and balance sheets. Right. And so the income statement, remember, was the income and the expenses. The balance sheet was assets versus liabilities, or balanced against liabilities, right? And so we saw the poor man's balance sheet and income statement. Then we moved to the middle class income statement and balance sheet, and then we moved to the wealthy, or not where, yeah, actually they had the wealthy's balance sheet, right, and income statement, and or more so the rich and the wealthy. They kind of have the same balance sheet. There's only one piece missing, and we will talk about that later. But the key thing that I want you to really get and understand is that as we begin to move forward through this book, you're going to start understanding what is necessary in order to create cash flow, and a portion of what is necessary in order to become wealthy. But what's going to happen is the small things that are being implemented are going to bring in the cash flow. So when we move into the next book, the cash flow quadrant, and then the following book, the guide to investing, when we start moving into these books, you're going to start understanding, or you're going to have already created a discipline that's going to allow you to be able to implement the practices that we have been talking about. So that's why the educational piece is so important, and why I didn't want to deal with mindset, was so that you would be able to move from a place of knowing to a place of actually implementing and winning. And so you're going to be able to start seeing things in this book that you're going to be able to implement, that's going to give you the discipline, so that when we get to the other books, like I said, you're going to be able to, you're going to fly through that. Okay. So this is going to be extremely powerful piece that we're going to be going over. Okay. So I'm going to go back from where we left off. And before we do that, I want to always bring this up. This is a very important structure right here. This is the debt cycle. Remember, this is where most people live. I don't care if they're poor, middle class, or rich. The only people who do not live in this debt cycle are the wealthy. I want you to be clear. If you're not living in this debt cycle, you are on the path to wealth. You already have the wealth mind if you're not in the debt cycle. So if you can get out of the debt cycle in one area, you're already on your path to wealth. This is very important, but you have to have all the components and everything that's necessary to implement it. And that's why I like going over this over and over and over again. because this is the key to escaping from a debt trap to the wealth trap. I mean, to the wealth cycle, from the debt trap to the wealth cycle, excuse me. So first, we all have some income coming in, right? We got income coming in from somewhere. Wherever you're getting income coming in, that's cash flow. That's a good thing. You got income coming in, no matter whether it's a job, your business, whatever it is, you're doing stocks, whatever it is that you're doing, day trading or something like that. Remember, stocks without dividends is a job, right? It's income coming in, but it's basically a job. If you're getting it with dividends and it's residual, it's an asset. Okay. It's bringing money into your pocket without what? Without you having to do anything to make that happen. When you have money coming in without you doing anything to make that happen, you have moved from the debt, you have moved from an investment or an investment or a job to an asset. Okay, it's not a liability, it's an asset. Now, so we got, everybody has some income coming in. You then what? Pay your bills first, right? You're short on cash. You use your credit to try to keep up with what it is that you were trying, your bills. Now you have your balances on your cards grow, and your higher payments from interest that you are, that's accruing, right? And now you have some income, but you go through this cycle over and over again. And you can't, it's hard to ever get out of the cycle. You're like, how do I get out of here? I've done everything. My company is growing. I've got a lot of money coming in, or I've got this job. I got 2 jobs now. Why is it that I am not winning? What am I doing wrong? What is going on in my life? What is happening that is making me or keeping me stuck in this trap? And a lot of people are asking that question. And it's something very simple. It's a small change that can make all the difference in the world. Okay. And so what that change is moving to the wealth cycle. Okay. And this wealth cycle is key right here. This is a major change. This makes all the difference in the world. And it's small changes, small things that you do that are different, that make all the difference in the world. If you ever get an opportunity, get a book called The Slight Edge. It's one of the, in my opinion, it's one of the greatest books ever written, because it will give you an understanding, whether, no matter what you're doing, but especially if you have a business. The slight edge is key. When you understand the slight edge, it's the little things that you do that make all the difference between whether you're successful or you're not successful at anything that you do. It's just the little thing. It's consistency, it's integrity, just the little things that can make all the difference in the world. Okay. So you've got some income coming in, but now you do what? You pay yourself first instead, right? So you got some income coming in, but instead you pay yourself. Now what happens is you invest that money. Okay. You don't spend credit, you master credit, meaning you get your credit score as high as possible. You have as much debt to credit ratio, a value that you can have without spending any of your credit at this time. You're building up to that 800, 850 score, and you're mastering that your investments are now paying you interest. And now, instead of paying them interest, you have interest coming in, you have interest payments coming in, and that becomes your income. And you support your lifestyle and everything off of it. But look at the small change. Instead of paying your bills first, you pay yourself first. Instead of paying those, and now instead of being short on money, now you put your money into investments, right? Or investment accounts that are going to bring you interest, right? While you're not working, your balances grow, you have interest payments coming to you, and now you using that as income. And you keep putting your money in here, right? Never touching the principal, so that you can constantly grow your interest payments. And this is your lifestyle living money. That is extremely powerful, That is the cycle that you want to be on, and that's where you want to be. Okay. So I always bring this up. I know I know I rehash and rehash and rehash this, but because we have been programmed with the debt cycle, we have been programmed with this. Because we've been programmed with the debt cycle, I must bring forward the wealth cycle. Okay. So I am brainwashing you with the wealth cycle. Hopefully you like being brainwashed with the wealth cycle. I love being brainwashed with the wealth cycle. And I want to give you guys a personal testimony that I actually found myself when income came into me today. I actually, instead of going straight for my bills, I did this process. I did this because I'm growing right along with you. I did this process, and I've been doing this process over these last few weeks, and I'm seeing a major difference coming forward, and soon it's going to overtake, and I see it. And so I'm extremely happy with that, and hopefully you all are doing the same thing. Those of you that are tuning in, watching this, whether you're watching it, whether you're on here with me, or whether you are just or you're seeing the replay, it doesn't matter. As long as you're making a change in your life, man, I'm so happy for you. Hallelujah. That is great. It is outstanding. So with that, no further ado, we're going to get into the book now. And so, like I said, we went through those 3 diagrams, and now it's going to start back here. And we also went through lesson 1 and lesson 2 as well, right? So let me see if I can see this real quick. Lesson 1 was the wealth don't work for money, right? The wealth don't work for money. They work to learn a lesson. They're learning things that's going to help them in their future of being an investor, right? And a business system owner. Okay. And then lesson 2 is it's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep. And that brought us back to the the wealth cycle, right? Here. That brought us back to the wealth cycle here. Okay. So when we understand this wealth cycle, right, now we're keeping our money. We're not touching the principal. We're allowing the principal to be invested and bring us the money that we're going to spend inside of interest payments. So it's how much you keep, because keeping this money is going to pay you. And so we want to find the best places to put our money where it's going to give us what? The highest return with the least amount of risk without having to pay any tax on it, right? That is our goal. So again, now we're going to go straight into the book because I wanted you to get that. Now, the key thing is here is that all of the diagrams, which we talked about, which was one for the poor, one for the middle class, he talked about rather, was one for the poor, one for the middle class, one for the rich, right? Now, they are obviously oversimplified. Everyone has living expenses, the need for food, shelter, and clothing. The diagrams show the flow of cash through a poor, middle class, and a wealthy person's life, right? So these diagrams show that, but it's really the rich, because the thing that was left out there, which is what I've been showing you all, right, is what? The interest-bearing accounts. See, the rich have assets, the rich have liabilities, and the rich have income, and the rich have expenses. But the wealthy do also. But the thing that the wealthy have that the rich do not, and this is what I was missing, and this is what many people were missing when they were making a lot of money. What they do not have is the proper place to put their money. And we're going to get deep into that one, especially when we get into the book After Cash Flow Quadrant. We're going to get in the book Guide to Investing. When we get into that book, Guide to Investing, it's going to go deep into why you cannot get to those arenas that the wealthy can invest in. Right. And we've broken the barrier. If you went back and watched our workshops, I talk about how now you can get into those. But It's going to break down why, really why you cannot get into those arenas. And so those arenas have been hidden from you where you can put your money, right? And it will actually make you wealthy, because the instruments that they have been given to the average person, like IRAs, 401ks, and so forth, right? Bank accounts, checking accounts, all those areas are designed to keep you poor. It's designed to keep you in the debt cycle. They're designed for that. Purposefully, not on an accident. It is not accidental that people are in the debt cycle. That is a purposeful construct. So you are only offered things, right? No matter how far outside of the box you go, you are purposefully only offered instruments that will keep you poor. Okay, I want you to get that. That will keep you in the middle class. That will keep you rich. But you can never become wealthy with those instruments. It's impossible. This is very important to get the concept. It's so and what the wealthy use is so unbelievable that it is so, when you share it with people, right? It is so hard for them to grasp the concept. Why? Because they have been so indoctrinated that you were not just indoctrinated with, or it was just not, you weren't just, the information wasn't just kept from you, but they indoctrinated with you to a point where you will reject the right knowledge. You will reject the right instruments. You will reject what makes people wealthy. They taught you to not only, they didn't just leave out the information, they taught you how to reject the good information. And that is what's so powerful about it. So a person, when they hear the right information, they automatically get confused and cannot understand it, because it is that outlandish. But the wealthy use it every day. They embrace it. But what you're supposed to embrace, you have rejected, and what you are supposed to reject, you have embraced. That's how deep it goes. And until you can unlearn, as it said in the book, in our Rich Dad Poor Dad Part 8, the portion we read there, right? Until you can unlearn, you cannot learn anymore. You can't do this. You have to admit, and first you have to admit that you're wrong. Then you have to unlearn the wrong that you've been taught. Then you have to learn that which is right. It's that deep, and it goes that far down the rabbit hole, right? So it is really is that sick. It's that deep. And so it's hard when you're trying to share this information with people. This is super hard. This is hard. This is hard. This is the hardest information I've ever had to share with people. It's nothing harder than this has been. It is the cash flow that tells the story of how a person handles their money. So cash flow tells the story of how a person handles their money. The reason I started with the story of the richest men in America is to illustrate the flaw in believing that money will solve all problems. That is why I cringe whenever I hear people ask me how to get rich quicker, or where they should start. I often hear, I'm in debt, so I need to make more money. Now I want you to pay close attention to this. He said, what? But more money will often not solve the problem. In fact, it may compound the problem. Now, this is deep right here. Why? Because we believe, right, that if I had more money, I'd be in a better situation. Or if I had more money, it would be better for me. Or if I had more money, I would win. If I had more money, I could do this. If I had more money, I could do that. But that's not true. Why? Why? He's about to raise that up. Money often makes obvious our tragic human flaws, putting a spotlight on what we don't know. And this is back to what we were talking about when I first opened up. We wonder, why is it that that even though I have all this money, why can't I get out of this trap? Or why is it I have a bunch of money now, but I'm broke again? Why do I have money today, but tomorrow I don't have any money? I don't have any way to get any money. I don't have any thing, because where have you put your money? What are you doing with your money? So it doesn't matter how much money you get, as long as you are buying liabilities, as long as you are creating more expenses, right? As long as you're creating more bills, you will never become wealthy, because the answer is not money. That's not the answer. That is why all too often a person who comes into a sudden windfall of cash, let's say an inheritance, a pay raise, or lottery winnings, soon returns to the same financial mess, if not worse than the mess they were in before. So they're going to be in the same mess, the same situation, the same sickness that they had prior, right? Right? So money is not the answer. Money only accentuates. Money only accentuates, right, the cash flow pattern running in your head. This is key. But I went further than that last sharing in part 7. I said money, or no, it's the addiction of buying liabilities. We're addicted to our cash flow pattern, right? That's an addiction. And we have to start. This is very masterful, because what's going to happen is, if you go out, okay, I want you to go look at all of the expenses that you have. Go look at them and see what you're wasting money on. You're going to find something, because what's going to happen is, as you start implementing these things that we're going to talk about, what's going to happen is you're going to begin to realize, I can get rid of this and get rid of that, get rid of this and get rid of that. Now you're going to get rid of everything that you're wasting money on. But you're going to find something in there, like one or two things, maybe one thing or two things or whatever, however many, that no matter what, for some reason, you're wasting the money, but you can't give up wasting that money. You're addicted to that, no matter what it is, whether it's food, whether it's clothing, whether it's your car. It's something you're addicted to that you're wasting money on, right? It's not an asset. You're not spending the money on an asset. You're wasting money in that area, and you can't stop it. That is your addiction, right? That is the liability that's costing you everything. That liability, it could be your children, even. It could be anything that you're addicted to, spending instead of investing. When you master that, now you have obtained the discipline, right, to change your cash flow pattern. So money only accentuates the cash flow pattern. So I don't care if I gave you $100,000 today, you would waste all that money on your addiction until you can master all spending and turn it into investing, until you have the interest coming in that now you can spend. Until you can do that, until you can master that, you will never be wealthy. It is your cash flow pattern running in your head that is throwing you off. That's what's killing you. That's what's making the difference. That's what's doing it, is that cash flow pattern. That is a real issue. That's not something light. That is real, right? So the cash flow pattern. Now, let's continue. If your pattern is to spend everything you get, right, most likely an increase in cash will just result in an increase in spending, not investing, spending, because that's all we've learned how to do. Why? Because the only way the wealthy get wealthy is if we spend. Hence, in the African American community, which I just learned, we have $1.8 trillion, not 1.7. We went up to between 1.8 and $2 trillion in spending capital. This is after bills, spending power, right? We done went up to 1.8 to 2 trillion. However, we're not wealthy. Why is that? Why is that? Because we're financially illiterate. That's why. There is no other reason. There is no other excuse. There is no other explanation other than we are financially illiterate. So until we become financially literate, we can never galvanize our funds and use them properly, because we don't know what that means. We don't know what it means to actually utilize our money properly. We know how to make money. We are good at that. You go into commercials, you're going to see people flip houses, do this, do that, da 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 da. That's making money. But what do you do with the money once you make it? That's what we don't know. That's the missing piece. We can make millions and billions of dollars, but if you do not know where to put that money so that that money is safe and can make money for you over and over and over again, so your generations don't have to work, then we lose, right? We lose. And that's what's happened because we're financially illiterate. So we have to become financially literate in order to win. Thus the saying, a fool and his money is one big party. Or, as it states, a fool and his money is soon departed. And it is, because our money stays in our community for, I believe, some minutes. It doesn't even circulate one time in our community, not once. So a fool and his money is soon departed, right? They're apart from each other. So I have said many times that we go to school to gain scholastic and professional skills, right? Both of which are important, right? Both of which are important. We learn to make money with our professional skills. And then we learn to make money. See, we learn to make money with our professional skills. In 1960s, when I was in high school, if someone did well academically, people assumed this bright student would go on to be a medical doctor because it was the profession with the promise of the greatest financial reward. Today, doctors face financial challenges I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Insurance companies taking control of the business, managed healthcare, government intervention, and malpractice suits. Today, kids want to be famous athletes, movie stars, rock stars, beauty queens, or CEOs because that's where the fame, money, and prestige are. And there's nothing wrong with becoming these things. The issue is you must recognize that financial literacy or becoming wealth is a profession as well. So if let's look at when we back in the day, and I don't know how many, if you're younger, you might not have ever heard this, but my generation and before my generation, athletes were considered dumb, right? They were ignorant. They were considered dumb. So what happened was they said they wanted them to go to school so an athlete could come in. They didn't really, the teachers would pass them because the school needed them to be able to play in the sports to be able to bring money to the school so the school could stay in existence and continue to teach children. That was really the function of the athletical side of the school, right? Or the sports section, right? So now so then what happened was, but they wouldn't become famous. They didn't make any, so like, let's say you were an athlete, you were in college, you might have been good in college, but you weren't picked up as a professional athlete. That athlete would be broke for life, stupid, quote unquote, or whatever. That's how they looked at them. That's how it was portrayed at that time. I'm just looking at what was portrayed. Now, from there, what happened was the athletes then started really taking education seriously, right? And so now they became educated with a degree, learning a skill just in case they didn't become famous, they would actually have something to fall back on and be able to be a productive asset in society as well. So that led to, you see a lot of these athletes now are able to be professional speakers. They're actually able to run businesses. They're doing different things that you didn't see in the past, right? That you now see more of the power of the educated athlete, right? And this is not to say that all athletes were dumb, because they weren't, but they were treated like that. This was the portrayal. This was the portrayal of the athlete, right? The stereotype of the athlete, right? And so I want you to really, really, really get that concept of what was taking place. Why did I bring this up? I'm bringing this up because we think that our job or the profession that we learned in school is going to make us wealthy, right? So in other words, it's like saying this. You go to college, you go to school, get good grades to get a job. Why? So that you can become wealthy. That's the mind trick. You think that a good job and school is what's going to make you wealthy. It's not. Because I don't care if you're a doctor, a lawyer, you are I don't care, nurse, whatever profession you pick up, that profession is not wealth. That profession is not wealth. And because that profession is not wealth, you will never become wealthy. And this is what I had to understand. That's why I understand the importance of the that's why I understand the importance of the expert, because the expert's profession is the expert's profession in their field. The wealth expert, which is what you must become, learns how to use or utilize everyone in their expertise in their field. That's why most financial advisors are not wealthy. Why? Because they're not wealth professionals. They're financial advisors. So the wealth professional gets a financial advisor to give him the information that's going to take him further in his wealth profession. The accountant is not a wealth professional. The wealth professional is also going to grab an accountant and bring the accountant on in his profession because he's the wealth professional. They're not. They're just giving the wealth professional the information he needs in order to carry out his wealth profession. It's just like a business. The restaurant, the mixer in the restaurant, the mixing machine in the restaurant is not the restaurant. It is just the mixing machine. But the restaurant needs the mixing machine, it needs the fry cooker, it needs the grill, it needs the refrigerator, it needs all of those things in order for it to be the restaurant, for it to run efficiently. The wealth professional has components that he needs or she needs in order to maintain or to create the wealth business, right? Or keep the wealth coming in. That's why the wealthy are wealthy, because you will wonder, well, why isn't the financial advisor wealthy? Because he's not a wealth professional. He doesn't have all the instruments necessary in order to become wealthy. He just understands financial advising. That's a component of wealth. That's not wealth. Why does the accountant know everything about money, but he's not wealthy? Because he's not a wealth professional. He's just an accountant, just a component of wealth. Why is the lawyer knows this, and that. They know everything. Yeah, but why aren't they wealthy? Because they're not a wealth professional. Wealth is a profession. So just like the athlete needed something to fall back on, right, and master another subject, so do you. Your subject that you need to be studying if you want to be wealthy is wealth. The problem is it's not taught. You can't go to college to learn it. You can only learn it through life. You have to find wealthy people and wealth instruments and learn how to start utilizing them to your benefit. Then you become a wealth professional. And once you become a wealth professional, the reason most people fail is because they never figure out that wealth is a profession. Why? Because you can't find it on a school syllabus. You won't find it. So it eludes everybody. And because it's elusive and you can't pick it up in school, now people lose it. And so they think that going to school, getting good grades, getting a good job is what's going to bring their wealth. But wealth itself is a profession. So whatever you're doing, you need to learn and master wealth. Okay. So let's get back to where we left off. It says, I have said many times that we go to school to gain scholastic and professional skills, both of which are important. We learn to make money with our professional skills. In the 1960s, when I was in high school, if someone did well academically, people assumed this bright student would go on to be a medical doctor because it was the profession with the promise of the greatest financial reward. Today, doctors face financial challenges. I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Insurance companies taking control of the business, managed healthcare, government intervention, and malpractice suits. Today, kids want to be famous athletes, movie stars, rock stars, beauty queens, or CEOs because that's where the fame, money, and prestige are. That is the reason it is so hard to motivate kids in school today. They know that the professional success is no longer solely linked to academic success as it once was, right? And that still wasn't leading them to wealth, but they would be able to stand on their own 2 feet, be able to retire, right? Because the money was going towards a retirement account. Now it's not going towards a retirement account. Now it's going into stocks, and those can be risky, especially if you have no understanding, which most people don't, of stocks, how they work, and they're just in a mutual fund, right? So because students leave school without financial skills, why? Because they're not taught in schools. Millions of educated people pursue their profession successfully, but later find themselves struggling financially, right? So because they don't have financial literacy, they're financially illiterate. They go to school to become educated, but they don't realize what? That wealth is a profession. Because they don't get that, they later find themselves what? Struggling financially. They work harder, but don't get ahead. What is missing from their education is not how to make money. We all learned that. We're very good at making money. But what? How to manage money, where to put your money to give you the highest return with the least amount of risk, where they cannot be taxed ever. Right? Very important. It's called financial aptitude. That's a key word right there. Financial aptitude. What you do with the money once you make it. How to keep people from taking it from you, especially the government. How to keep it longer, and how to make that money work hard for you. So what is that? That's the wealth cycle, right? The diagram that I showed you all earlier, which I'm going to bring back up. That is the wealth cycle. That's this. That's this. That is the wealth cycle. That's what it is. He just talked about how to what? Keep your money and never touch it so that it brings you what? Interest payments. Pay yourself, invest money. Pay yourself, invest money. Pay yourself. Never touch this money. Don't use credit. Get the highest level of credit you got. Now your balances grow and you're getting interest payments coming in. Now let's listen to this in wording. Remember, we got to understand the wording language, and we have to understand how to count numbers, right? Look at numbers and read the story from the numbers, right? So again, we're going to go back. What did it say? He said, sorry. He said, it's called financial aptitude. What you do with the money once you make it. Are you going to pay your bills, or are you going to pay yourself first? How to keep people from taking it. That's back to trust. So if you didn't see our workshop on trust, make sure you watch our workshop on trust. If you're on my YouTube channel, if you find our YouTube channel, all you have to do is go to YouTube, look up Let's Talk Credit, right? Let's Talk Credit. You'll find my page. When you go there, you're going to be able to click on and watch these videos, but the trust workshop is there as well. It's called financial aptitude. What you do with the money once you make it, how to keep people from taking it from you. That's trust, right? And putting it in the right accounts that can never be taxed ever once you take it out or before you put it in. Pre and post and during, right? They can't touch it. It's very important. How to keep people from taking it from you, how to keep it longer, meaning doing what? Pay yourself and investing it, and how to make that money work hard for you. So now you got it invested, it's coming out. You're putting it in a high yield, no risk, non-taxable account that is now yielding you what? Interest payments, high yield interest payments that now you're living off of. That is powerful. That's the wealth cycle. Most people don't understand why they struggle financially because they don't understand cash flow. They don't understand this process. They don't understand the wealth cycle. Why? Because they've never heard of it. They've never seen it. And because most people have never seen or heard of the wealth cycle, they are forever stuck in the debt cycle, thinking that the debt cycle is financial freedom. That's why the rich, many rich people, self-made millionaires, never become wealthy, because you're looking to become rich instead of wealthy. And so you can develop any business to become rich. You can actually, there are certain jobs that you can actually get, or professions that you can get, that will make you rich. But the people that become wealthy, they have mastered this game. And there's a big difference. A person can be highly educated, professionally successful, and what? Financially illiterate. That's deep, isn't it? A person can be highly educated, professionally successful, and at the same time, financially illiterate. I see it every single day, right? I watch people every day that are financially literate, but highly successful, and cannot understand what I'm sharing with you all today. If you understand what I'm sharing with you all today, you are a genius. Because I know people who got PhDs that cannot understand what I just shared with you today. Literally. It will amaze you. It will blow you away at how financially illiterate people are. And it's not their fault. It's not our fault. Because I was the same way. Don't get me wrong. I ain't talking about you. I'm with you. I mean, you saw my video, Mr. Dummy. I was Mr. Dummy. You understand what I'm saying? For real. But I accepted it. I don't have a problem when I know that I'm wrong. Like if I know I'm wrong, or if I know that I'm finding, like if I see it, I'm gonna admit it. I don't care. Because you must admit you have a problem before you can solve it. That's number one. So you got to do that. Like, okay, I got a problem. I got to fix that. Right. So you got that. That's real. But I'm telling you, like, you will be amazed. Right. So we're blessed to be able to get the information. Now we have to accept it, take it in, and use it. So these people often work harder than they need to because they learn how to work hard, but not how to have their money work hard for them. Right. And we just discussed that. So we'll start for how the quest for a financial dream turns into a financial nightmare on part 9. Tonight, I'm going to go ahead and close out. I appreciate everybody being here. Hopefully you got a lot out of what I shared. I always love spending time with you all. I always love sharing the information that has been shared with me, and I'm praying that you got something out of it. So with that, and no further ado, I love you all with a perfect love, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I look forward to seeing you all at the top. Peace.